What up, guys? Jet Shells here, and welcome back to World of Tanks. I hope all of you are doing well and that your summer is going awesome. First of all, I want to apologize for my voice. If it sounds a little raspy or a little weird, it's because I've contracted a cold. I spent the weekend hanging out with the family and helping babysit my niece's nephew, and when you hang out with little kids, there's generally a lot of germs around, so that is how that happened, I think. But anyway, getting to the video, today I wanted to address something that a decent number of you have been putting in requests in YouTube comments about, and that is how to make an impact in a battle when you're a bottom tier scout. I post a lot of videos of either scouting or doing damage, and a lot of the time it's when I'm top tier in the matchmaking. For instance, if I'm a tier 7 scout like I am here in this game, but the highest tier tank is tier 8 tank. And generally that is true for almost any tank that you play, because the higher tier you are in the matchmaking, the more powerful your tank is, and the more influence you can have on the battle. You have more survivability generally, you have more HP, more armor, usually a better gun that either has better DPM, better alpha, better penetration, and you can just have a bigger impact. But a lot of you guys have been asking, how can you have an impact on the battle when you're bottom tier? So I'm just going to start this game here, and then I'm going to run over some key points that I think are important to making a decent amount of difference in a game when you're not top tier. So first of all, number one, intel is more important than damage early in a battle. AKA, this means scouting and getting vision on the enemy team, especially at the very beginning of a game here, which is what I'm doing here on Siegfried line assault defense. I do roll scout along that ridge line to get an idea of which tanks are at which spawn and where they're going to what specific positions. It's really not very important to get damage early in a game. It puts you at too much risk generally, as there are a lot of guns alive on the enemy team, all of them of course at the start of a battle, and also you don't have a good chance of penning a lot of your targets, or I should say a lower chance of penning your targets, because generally at the start of the battle all the enemy tanks are attacking each other and facing each other frontally usually, and so you're forced to engage higher armor value targets. So that's the first one. Intel is more important. It really helps your team decide which side of the map is weaker or stronger for you and your team, and which tanks are there. Can they be aggressive? Do they need to be conservative? And it helps your teammates make better tactical decisions. So try and get some vision on the enemy team early in a battle, and not so much damage. Number two is, don't try to push the tempo of the battle with your physical presence. You are a support tank, especially in maps where there isn't a lot of long range lanes or field areas, where you can outspot the enemy through your camo rating, or flank them through open ground. Don't try to bully. You don't have any armor, and you have low HP value for your tank. Even if you were top tier, you have low HP value. So you look for one-shot, two-shot opportunities when an enemy is distracted or they're not aware of exactly where you are, and you can shoot them without them engaging you. And number three here is, avoid being the focus of enemy tanks and take advantage of when they're distracted. when they're engaging your teammates, like I did with that T110E5. You don't want to be so aggressive and trap yourself in an area on a map where the enemy tanks have no one else to shoot at on your team but you. You need to be aware of where your teammates are positioned on the battlefield and realize, am I the most likely target that the enemy tanks are going to be shooting at? So you need to be sneaky, and you need to be elusive. There's actually a Japanese proverb that I love the principle of. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce it in Japanese because I don't speak that language, but the translation is, the nail that sticks out gets hammered. So basically the principle is, once again, wait for the enemy tanks and players to be distracted by your teammates, because you don't have the armor and you don't have the HP to play with to generally be engaging tanks that have better guns than you and better armor and HP than you. Number 4 is wait for your teammates to punch holes into enemy tank formations by either killing the enemy tanks or forcibly taking a position on the map, which is what has happened here on the AB lines, kind of in the A6, B6 area about a minute or to 2 minutes ago. I took advantage of the fact that even though we lost a decent number of tanks in the process, we punched a hole in the enemy lines. And so I was able to drive out into the field and kill the arty. You always want to be looking for opportunities where the more and more enemy tanks that die, that equates to more and more opportunity for you to start being more maneuverable, being more aggressive, and being able to actually flank and get to the sides of enemy tanks and start putting pressure on them with either your damage capability or your vision capability. Because the more enemy tanks that are dead, obviously there's more open ground in between the remaining enemy tanks that are alive. So this allows you more room to maneuver and to be flexible, which is one of the main strengths of being a scout. This also applies if the enemy have been really aggressive and advanced through an area of the map and left the previous area vacant. If you have enough space, you can squeeze through and get behind them. So always be looking for flanking opportunities to either support your teammates or either in attacking a position or defending a position. Number 5 principle is don't expose yourself to long periods of time trying to get shots of damage in on enemy tanks. When you're bottom tier tank, this principle applies, and all these principles apply, by the way, to any game as in a scout, but especially when you're bottom tier, is don't expose yourself for sustained periods of time and return fire by the enemy. Don't get greedy with your trying to get damage, because generally the tanks that you're fighting against and that have the potential to shoot back at you have a lot more DPM, they have more alpha, and you just don't have the hit points to sacrifice. Your hit points are very, very precious in a scout, and you need to preserve them and be ingenuitive about how you use them. And lastly, and number 6 here, and of course all these points here are not every possible contingency, but these are the main ones that I thought of. Lastly here, number 6, constantly scan the mini-map and the battlefield to look for opportunities where you can help your teammates in some way. This is very, very important in keeping yourself alive and helping making impact in the battle. If you see that there's a position that you can take where you can create a second line of fire on the enemy while they're assaulting your teammates, just like we did up here in this B6 area when the enemy T110E5 assaulted our Mutts and our E50. We just waited and we were able to create two angles of fire. We were shooting him in the back while he was assaulting our teammates, and we were able to help kill him without him being able to make as much of an impact against our team. Or you can do that assaulting, of course. That was particularly defense, but you can do that with assault. Use your mobility and look for opportunities. Look for open areas in the field, areas of maps like Redshire, Muravanka, Prokhorovka, etc., where you can use your speed and mobility to get to the side of enemy tanks and start forcing them to react to fire from two different directions, or vision from two different directions. They can't look in two different places at the same time, so they're going to have to choose who they want to engage and who they think is the higher threat. So forcing the enemy players to react like that is, even if you don't get any damage, it's very beneficial, because it will in all likelihood help your teammates get damaged. So those are some of the main principles I find in helping making a better impact on the battle in general, and specifically making a better impact when you're bottom tier. But enough of that. I have a M41 Walker Bulldog game to show to you guys here to kind of illustrate some of the points that I've been talking about. So let's just jump into that game. Alright, so here we are on mines in my M41 Walker Bulldog in a tier 10 game. And this is pretty much the worst possible scenario that you can encounter, that is, in a scout. You're on a small map that doesn't have a lot of long range vision opportunities or sniping opportunities, and you're bottom tier. And it's basically a corridor choke point map. So first of all, something that I didn't mention while I was playing the WZ131 game is, like at the start of every battle, it's very important for you to make good decisions on where you first go in a battle. Of course, everyone knows that a lot of players like to rush up to the hill at the beginning of a game, and they have 3 tier 10 mediums, 2 tier 8 mediums, albeit they're not the fastest tier 8 mediums in the world, the FV4202 and the Centurion, and a tier 7 Scout as well, the AMX 1375. And I'm looking at our comp, and even though we have 2 tier 10 mediums and 2 tier 9 mediums, I basically am weighing the odds that it's not worth the risk in me trying to charge up there. Basically, all I'm going to be accomplishing is basically being a bullet sponge and an XP pinata for the enemy tier 10 mediums, because they're almost just as fast as me, and I won't even be loaded, as I'm using the clip gun here on the Bulldog. So what I decide to do at the beginning of this battle is rush over here to C9 and try to get some vision on the back side of the hill. So let's just get started. And once again, when you're bottom tier, not only does it apply in general, of course, but when you're bottom tier, your speed and your mobility are what keep you alive, right? You need to have situational awareness. You need to understand where the enemy tanks are positioned on the map, and from those positions understand what kind of firing opportunities that they will have into your team and into the positions on the map where your team are. That way it will you will reduce the risk that you put to yourself by reducing the opportunities that enemy tanks have to shoot at you. There we spot the Type 4 Heavy and the FV-4202P on the backside of the hill. I really like this position here when you don't have an opportunity to win the hill. There's a house right there in front of me that I have to knock down first before I could potentially have any shots on any tanks there on the backside of the hill in like a C5 and C6. Something you need to be aware of when you're in this position here in C9 is that if the enemy has won the hill like they have in this game, you can get shot from where this TVP is poking out up on the hill. When an enemy team wins the hill, they oftentimes like to poke over the east side of the hill there in that E7, F7 area of the hill onto tanks that are advancing down the 7 and the 8 lines, because they can get side shots and top-down shots and force those tanks to retreat. Here we're illustrating the fundamental principle: don't expose yourself for sustained periods of time. I popped up to shoot the bad chat once or twice and then reverse back into cover because, once again, it's not worth me risking getting shot by him and losing 390, 400 HP for potentially 150 damage that I could do. And once again, to illustrate what happens when you don't do that, is what exactly happened to me there. I didn't follow that principle and I paid for it, right? I got greedy and I thought I could put 3-4 shots of damage into the Centurion and not really caring about getting shot. But I should have cared about getting shot because he is starting out with more HP than me to begin with, and I didn't make an effective HP trade. Now the Bat Chat is poking up again, trying to pressure my teammates down there, the IS-3 and T-30. Probably stayed up there one shot too long, but I did my job, right? I forced him to retreat off the hill and help keep my teammates healthy. These are the kind of opportunities that you need to be looking for to assist in your team. You're not a frontline tank. You're not an assault tank. You're a support tank, especially in a corridor map like mines. Excuse me. Really amazed at that shot pen on the Tiger II there, but I think we snuck it right over the rock into his side armor. That Tiger II is apparently not happy about us shooting him. Apparently, you're not supposed to shoot tanks in World of Tanks, I guess is how it works. Of course, in this particular battle, we're not being very mobile, right? But that's fine as long as there's not any better potential way that you can help your team, right? We're able to reverse far enough back behind the bush there that we didn't initially get spotted by the Centurion Action 10. But once again, going back to, it all depends on the battle. Don't think like you always have to be running around the battlefield. Just react to what's going on as far as situationally. A lot of times, you just react to what the enemy tanks are doing, and you don't have to run around recklessly and end up exposing yourself to multiple enemy tanks shooting at you for very little benefit, right? So even though we've been pretty static in this battle and sitting in basically one position for most of the game, there's not a lot of other options to me to go somewhere else where I can have a better impact than where I am now. I can't go up into the 4-5 line because I die in about 5 seconds. I can't work the west side of the map because the enemy team have a presence there. They have a T-32, potentially a T-30 that could have advanced, and an IS-4 that can shoot me if I try to relocate there as well. So don't feel bad about not relocating somewhere, as long as it's probably the best opportunity that you have to help your team. Now I'm aware that I have almost no support at all anymore on this flank, right? Our IS-3 and T-30 that were over here on this flank have died. So now, even now that this Type 61 is moving up on the 7 line, I need to be aware that we don't have the anvil element anymore on this flank for our team. By anvil, I mean a tank on your team that can take the hits, right? Either with their armor or with their HP. So basically, once the enemy starts advancing, you need to start doing a rolling retreat and use the strengths of your tank to fight them, which is our mobility. So now, I saw that the Type 61 had retreated again, even though he's advancing back up now, which is actually a really bad idea on his part. And I basically peeked up there to spot for myself. That's a lot of sometimes a lot of people forget that when they're playing scouts. You're not only spotting for your team, remember to spot for yourself. Get intel for yourself so that you can make better decisions. I needed to know where those enemy tanks were and how close they were getting to me, so I had time to run away. If you wait until enemy tanks are right on top of you to run away, you'll never make it out in time usually. So now I'm just focusing on doing what sniping support I can and what vision I can. We do have an RD left in the game who basically just one-shot a Yag Tiger, which is really helpful for evening the odds in this battle. Unfortunately, a lot of these potential damage shots that I have here are frontal, so it's going to be pretty hard to pen a lot of these targets. Don't take the shot there on the IS-3 because he was very well angled, and it was very unlikely that he was going to pen. And so right now, I'm just keeping myself alive and preserving my HP as much as possible. Not cowering in a corner of the map, right? That's a very key distinction. Sometimes people go all or nothing. You don't want to hide in the corner of a map and be useless to your team the whole battle. But what you want to do is not, once again, one of the fundamental principles, you don't want to be the focus of the enemy team when you are bottom tier. You don't have the HP and you don't have the armor to trade with, so you need to be sneaky, you need to be using your speed, and this is what implementing all of those concepts gets you in a late game. I've taken a hit from that Centurion 1 earlier in the battle, so I'm not full HP, but I'm pretty healthy. I can take at least one shot from the IS-4, and I am potentially a one-shot for the enemy T-30 here, unfortunately, but I have more options, right? I have a margin for error, and I can use my speed and mobility to start flanking around. This is what happens when your team have killed enough enemy tanks, right? And there's a lot of open area of the map that you can start employing here. Loaded heat here because I anticipated shooting at the IS-4. Make a misplay there. I didn't think I was able to be shot by the T-30 there, but I peeked past that corner just a little too much and he was able to shoot me. Very lucky that he's not using the top gun for the T-30, which has 750 alpha damage. In all likelihood, that would have one-shot me. I think he's using the stock gun, which is still a decent gun, has a good rate of fire. Even though we didn't do any damage there and traded very poorly through my misplay, one of the benefits that we got out of that is I was able to force the IS-4 to turn his turret, which gave my team an opportunity to get shots in without too much risk of immediate return fire. Trying to communicate to my team here that the T-30 has the small gun, not the big gun, so potentially our Centurion Action 10 could potentially take a one shot of damage from the T-30 if he gets lucky and the T-30 rolls average or below average. It's always good to try and communicate intel to your team whenever you have a chance to. Sometimes in high pressure situations you don't have that opportunity, of course. but you should always look for opportunities to do that. Now the game is basically won, and we're trying to find the T-30 here as we outnumber him here. Unfortunately, this is a waste of heat ammunition shooting at the back of a T-30, but I didn't want to take 30 plus seconds to reload an APCR standard clip and not have an opportunity to do damage. And we were able to do enough damage to the T-30 to lower him down to the point where he was a one-shot for our Jagdpanzer E-100. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this game and seeing some of the principles that you can employ in trying to be successful and making a difference, even though you're bottom tier in a battle. A lot of it has to do with the types of maps that you get, the types of compositions of your team and the enemy team, where it will limit the options that you have at the beginning of a battle and at the mid game. Generally, once again, this will happen less and less often the higher and higher tier battles that you get into, like when you're in a tier 10 game and then you're in tier 7 scout. Generally, over the course of, say, over 1,000 battles, you will have less of an impact over in a 1,000 tier 10 games than you would in 1,000 tier 8 games. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep trying and try to do your part to contribute to try to win the game. But before I start rambling too much, I'm gonna call an end to the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed watching it. Take care and happy hunting.